As a stepmother, I've spent my entire life working tirelessly. Even when my husband, Joe, went bankrupt, I willingly washed dishes to support his entire family. Unexpectedly, after a lifetime of toil, I was left with ungrateful children and a loveless husband. Given a second chance, I'm done serving them. I'll spend what I want, enjoy life, and this time, I'll live for myself. Chapter 1. My husband, Joe, went bankrupt. To support the family, I washed dishes and earned money through hard work, yet I was still disdained by my children and husband. "Mom, why are you earning so little money? It's not even enough to buy me a pair of shoes." "I knew it, you're not my real mom, that's why you don't want to spend money on me." "Brother, let's go find our real mom. We've been calling her mom in vain all these years." With trembling hands, I reached out to my departing children and then glanced at my silent husband. Tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. For so many years, I had worked so hard, raising them with unconditional love, only to end up with a pair of ungrateful brats. Fine, let them go. I'll be better off without them. My name is Lily. I married Joe full of love, despite knowing he had been married before and had 2 children. However, his ex-wife Susan kept showing up from time to time, but I couldn't stop her. After all, she was their biological mother coming to see her children. As a stepmother, I had no right to say anything. I was originally Joe's secretary, and seeing him successful and handsome, how could I not be tempted? My parents were strongly opposed, but I was determined to marry him, even threatening to harm myself, causing chaos at home. Until my belly began to swell, my parents had no choice but to agree. Marrying Joe was the beginning of my misfortune. I even went to the hospital myself for a procedure to gain the acceptance of his 2 children. If I had another chance, I would rather do anything else than marry Joe. Lily, wake up. Jack and Jane are fighting again." Aunt Mary urged me awake. I opened my eyes groggily and stared at the wedding photo of Joe and me on the bedside table for a while before realizing what was happening. Good news, I've been reborn. Bad news, I've been reborn 1 year before Joe's bankruptcy. Chapter 2. Joe's children, Jack and Jane, had already been spoiled rotten by his ex-wife Susan. I knew there was no way to correct them anymore, so I let them grow freely. Whatever they turn into is up to them. Aunt Mary and I walked into the living room. Jack and Jane were already wrestling on the floor, pulling each other's hair and ears, fighting fiercely. "Jack. It's just 10 grand. I'm not your real brother. The entire Joe family will be mine in the future, let alone your measly 10 grand. Jane. How dare you take my money? I saved that up with great effort. I'm also Dad's daughter. The family estate is also half mine, don't think you can hog it all." Susan was anxiously circling them, tears streaming down her face. "Stop fighting, your siblings." The 3 of them were putting on a perfect show, occasionally glancing at me. I understood very well, the stage was set, just waiting for me to watch the drama. According to my old self, seeing them fight like this, I would have hurriedly separated them, asked the reason, and then scolded them before giving them my savings to buy whatever they wanted. Ever since I married Joe, Susan had been holding a grudge, always bad-mouthing me whenever she visited the kids. Despite my heartfelt care for the children, they never warmed up to me. But I was still their mother, they were raised under my feet, I couldn't watch them go astray. So, every time they had an issue, I would step in to help. The result was, I spent money and effort, became the bad guy, and the children still didn't appreciate it. They turned around and cozied up to their biological mom, saying I used their family's money to make life hard for them. Now that I've been reborn, I might as well relax and let them handle their own mess. I plopped down in the living room, munching on sunflower seeds and watching TV, occasionally turning back to offer some advice. "Yes, Jack, girls have long hair. Pulling it during fights is the way to go. Jane, you're wrong. Girls have sharp nails, scratch your brother's face." Soon, the siblings stopped fighting, looking up at me in confusion. "Mom, you're just going to watch us fight?" "No, I'm quite busy." I spat out a sunflower seed shell. I have to watch TV and occasionally give you pointers. It's exhausting. Chapter 3. Susan stood by with tears in her eyes. Why don't you stop them? They're siblings, and you raised them. I rolled my eyes. Their real mom, don't stop them. How could I, the stepmom, dare to intervene? What would people say about me? Besides, they've stopped fighting now. I'll be going. You three have some catching up to do. The mother and children stared at me in shock, as if they had seen a ghost. I couldn't be bothered to argue with them. I'd rather go have a beauty sleep. For years, I had been in charge of the household in name only, but in reality, it was my mother-in-law who called the shots. Joe's company was doing well, earning more since he divorced Susan. But ridiculously, 2/3 of the assets were given to her during the divorce. Now that she had almost spent all her money, seeing the company doing better, she became envious and started scheming again. That 10 grand won't be enough for her, she won't let it go easily. That evening, Joe came home. His face was as dark as if he had just returned from a coal mine, looking like I owed him millions. Lily, I've divorced Susan. Why do you have to make things difficult for her? Don't forget, she's Jack and Jane's mother. I have nothing to do with her anymore. You're being paranoid. Jack and Jane will take care of you when you're old. If things go sour, it's bad for both of us. Here we go again, the same old story. Every time something didn't go Susan's way, she would cry to Joe, using the children as an excuse, acting all innocent, as if I bullied her, playing the victim. Then, Joe would come home and vent his anger on me. Joe could never specify what exactly I did wrong, just saying I was paranoid, that Susan wouldn't take the children away or remarry him, making me feel confused and guilty. Lily, Susan has no ulterior motives. She just wants to see Jack and Jane. Don't make it hard for her. After all, they are her biological children. I won't divorce you. Joe was in agony, running his hands through his hair. I jumped up from the chair and slapped him hard, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Smack! If you don't want to divorce, I do. My hand hurt, but my anger persisted. I kicked him again. Ah! Joe cried out in pain. After a round of punching and kicking, I grabbed a bowl from the table and hurled it at him, hitting his chest. Get out! We're getting a divorce tomorrow, I said coldly. Chapter 4. Joe staggered back, bumping into the table and accidentally falling to the ground. My mother-in-law screamed in fear. Are you crazy? How dare you hit my son? Lily, let's talk calmly. Why resort to violence? Joe, terrified by my sudden outburst, struggled to stand, holding onto the table. I wasn't done. I threw another bowl near his feet. Why talk calmly? Listen to you. Every day you and your brainless kids think about this little estate. I don't even care about it. If you want to remarry Susan, go ahead. Stop being an eyesore to me. Lily, what nonsense are you spouting? I won't divorce you. Susan just came to see the children. She's not after our money. You're overthinking. Joe barely stood, leaning on a chair, when suddenly a stumbling figure rushed in from the doorway. Joe, are you okay? How could she hit you? Susan's hands roamed over Joe's chest, looking like she was in pain. Does it hurt? How could Lily be so heartless? Crying, Susan's tears flowed freely, making her look pitiful. Lily, I just wanted to see the children. I won't compete with you for Joe. Don't worry. Oh, what a joke. The two of them looked so loving, caring for Joe, understanding his difficulties, making me the villain, the shrew, the unreasonable one. When Joe's company faced difficulties, Susan divorced him immediately, taking the money and leaving the country. I accompanied him, running from company to company, from bank to bank, enduring stomach bleeds, smiling and begging for investments. When Susan heard Joe's company had overcome its crisis and was thriving, she ran back from abroad. Susan, with her tears and sob stories, easily won their gratitude. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Susan kept crying, glaring at me with fake gentleness. Lily, if you're angry, take it out on me. Why vent on Joe? Hasn't he been good to you? Good, huh? Your own words. I slapped her hard, a clear smack, leaving Susan stunned. I put all my strength into that slap, and her body tilted over. You're crazy, Lily, Joe shouted, holding Susan, sharing a deep gaze with her, nauseating me. I pushed them out the door. With the house free of their presence, I instructed the maid to clean up the mess and sat down, enjoying 2 large bowls of rice for the first time ever. Chapter 5. The next day, the family whispered about me. Too afraid to ask directly, they gossiped quietly behind my back. Jane brought a glass of water to my desk, cautiously asking, Mom, what happened? Don't be angry. It's not good for your health. I made you honey water, it's tasty and good for your skin. Jane tried to please me, though she was Joe and Susan's daughter, I raised her as my own. She treated me well, siding with me whenever she argued with Susan. But later I found out, the ones who pretend to be kind often cause the most pain. After the bankruptcy, she was the quickest to change faces. You always said you treated me like your own. Look, every time I ask for spending money, you're stingy. All lies. You never give me enough, not even to buy anything. Good thing I have my real mom. She gives me whatever I want. Having a mom is like having a treasure. On the day of bankruptcy, she attacked me. It's all your fault. You're not our real mom. You've given all our money to your own family. If it weren't for you squandering, how could we go bankrupt? I knew you never truly cared for us. You must have hidden the assets. Give back our money. You should divorce Dad so we can be a family again. She was too naive. Did she really think I controlled the company's fate? Years of lavish spending, the house was already an empty shell. Plus, Joe's poor business management and debts. Who would have thought my sincere efforts ended up with ungratefulness? Mom, don't be angry. Anger ages you. I made you honey water. It's tasty and good for your skin. Jane sat on the sofa, trying to please me. Mom, I want to buy a new bag. It's not vanity. My classmates all have one. They mock me, saying the Joe family must be broke if I can't even afford a $5,000 bag. Mom, I know you love me the most. You won't let my classmates mock me. I planned to use my allowance, but Jack took it. She tugged at my sleeve, acting spoiled. A $5,000 bag, how many classmates can afford that? Do they really think I'm a pushover? Susan's money ran out, so she sent Jane to get more from me, using her charm. I truly cared for her, and the house wasn't lacking, so I gave in. Now, she tried her old tricks again, but I'm no longer a fool. You want a bag? I'm out of money. Wait for your dad to come back. I'll tell him. Send me the picture, and I'll ask your dad to buy it. I patted her hand. A bag isn't a big deal. Your dad loves you, he'll buy it. Mom, Dad's a man. He doesn't understand my taste. What if he buys the wrong color? It's better if you give me the money to buy it myself. The sales assistant is waiting. Jane's face changed, her eyes darkening, still clutching my hand, as the sales assistants appeared in the living room. I pampered Jane, so her favorite brand's clothes, jewelry, and bags were brought home by the sales assistants for her to choose. I sipped my honey water while the sales assistants lined up in the living room. Mrs. Joe, these are the latest designs, perfect for a young lady like Jane. They're youthful and vibrant, and stocks are limited. One assistant smiled, showcasing several bags, noticing my frown. Mrs. Joe, this is the latest from Youre, made of soft lambskin with 2 diamonds embedded. It matches your grace perfectly. She glanced at Jane and smiled. Miss Jane is full of youthful energy. This bag suits her too. They knew I dotted on Jane, and every time we shopped, they recommended expensive items, persuading me to buy them for Jane. Jane would accept them and then send most of them to Susan. I picked up a bag, smiling. Yes, this suits me for attending social gatherings. And those clothes and necklaces are beautiful too. I'll take them all. I have a gathering coming up, and they'll make me look good. Chapter 6. Jane was dumbfounded, her smile frozen, clutching my arm awkwardly. The sales assistants maintained their professional smiles. Mrs. Joe, you have great taste. The total is $150,000, plus the previous items. I know, ask Mr. Joe to settle the bill later. Leave the items. I sat back down, sipping my drink, glancing impatiently at the assistants. I'm going to rest. Anything else? They exchanged glances, smiling stiffly, and left, whispering as they went. Seems like Miss Jane had a falling out with Mrs. Joe. You didn't know? Miss Jane isn't her biological daughter. The rich family's affairs are complicated. Let's just report to Mr. Joe. As they left, Jane clung to me, crying. Mom, Dad will scold me. You love me the most. Are you mad about me seeing Susan? I won't see her again. I looked at her in shock. Jane, what are you saying? Susan is your real mom. How could I be mad? I'm just out of money. Your dad earns it all. Last month you and Jack bought clothes and went out. That was all my savings. How can you say I don't love you because I didn't buy this one time? My eyes filled with tears. The world says being a stepmom is hard. I've raised you since you were little. Now you say I don't love you because I didn't buy once. Jane was terrified, crying. Mom, I didn't mean that. I see you as my real mom. I kept crying, ignoring her. Seeing my genuine sadness, Jane ran to her room. Once she left, I wiped my face and went to my room for a beauty sleep. In my past life, I saved and scrimped, giving them everything they wanted. In the end, I was still just the stepmom, never as good as the real mom. This time, I deserve to treat myself better. They're not the only ones who deserve to enjoy life. I deserve it too. Chapter 7. The sales assistants went to Joe. Naturally, he had to pay up, not wanting to lose face, but he was undoubtedly upset. Lily, what did you buy? You spent $150,000 in one morning. Money doesn't come easy. You should understand my hard work. Unlike you, who stays home all day. Before he finished, Susan came running. Joe, you have to save Jack. Speak clearly. What happened? Joe shouted at Susan. Jack was in a bar, feeling down. He saw a girl being bullied and stepped in, getting into a fight. Susan whispered. The drama began. Susan, teary-eyed, looked at me. Lily, Jack is your son too. You must feel for him. They said they'd settle for $80,000. Susan seemed anxious, but her eyes kept darting towards me. Joe, we only have that much. Otherwise, I wouldn't trouble you. Please save Jack. She was afraid I wouldn't let Joe save Jack, thinking I'd want another child to inherit the Joe family fortune. I had no such desire. At 30-something, why would I want to suffer more? Besides, the Joe family would be finished in a year. I just regretted not asking for more money, considering I had orchestrated this whole drama. All right, Jack is my son too. You stay here. I'll go and get him back safe and sound. Susan looked grateful. Thank you, Lily. I was wrong before. Let me come with you. If Jack doesn't listen to you, I might be able to help. Chapter 8. I ignored her, called for the driver, and headed straight to the bar. Joe was worried. Lily, is $80,000 enough? What if they don't release Jack? He's our only son. I got out of the car. I'll check first. We'll figure it out if it's not enough. We arrived at the bar. I walked in with the cash. Mom, save me! Jack was being pushed around, his face pressed against a table, looking pitiful. Jack, are you all right? Let him go, I brought the money. I gently held Jack's face, tears streaming down. "Let me go, my mom brought the money." Jack struggled. "Hold on, I need to count the money first." The man pushing him around laughed, finally releasing him. "Get out of here, kid. You're lucky you have a good family. We'll let you go this time." I quickly helped Jack up. "Jack, are you hurt? Mom was so worried about you." "Mom, I'm fine. But you have to save Lucy too. She's innocent." Jack grabbed my hand. Who's Lucy? Do we know her?" I feigned ignorance. "She owes us money. We just asked her to have a few drinks with us. What's wrong with that? Pay up, and we'll let her go." The man who had been pushing Jack around pulled a girl named Lucy into his arms, taunting us with a sneer on his face. Jack's face turned red with anger, his fists clenched, veins popping on his forehead. He looked like he wanted to pull Lucy into his arms. Lucy, wearing a white dress, her eyes filled with tears, looked like a delicate flower. I had told them to find a random girl for the act, but they had found quite a gem. "I'm out of money. Call your father," I said calmly. Unlike my previous life, where I feared Joe's anger and took care of everything myself, I wasn't going to solve this alone. Jack looked helpless and called Joe. "I don't have any money either." Joe's voice boomed over the phone. "If Lucy doesn't leave, I won't leave either." Jack held onto my hand, determined. While I reassured Joe on the phone, I glanced worriedly at Jack, who refused to budge. In the end, Joe had no choice but to agree. "Dear, Jack is our only son. The entire family estate will be his in the future. If he wants to help a girl, let him. We can't ruin our father-son relationship." I coaxed Joe. Joe pondered and reluctantly agreed. "How much does the girl owe you?" "Not much, just $50,000. The man sneered. "Wait, I'll have someone bring it over." Joe conceded, hanging up. The thug was dumbfounded, realizing Joe was serious about bringing the money. He regretted not asking for more and cursed under his breath. I should have charged interest. Damn it, I lost out. I glared at him, worried he might blow our cover. He quickly composed himself, laughing exaggeratedly and toasting to himself. "Here's the money. Let's go." Joe's man delivered the cash. Jack pulled Lucy into his arms, ready to leave when I signaled the thugs. "Not so fast." They stood up, ready to chase. I quickly pushed Jack forward, blocking the thugs. "Run, you guys run. I'll handle them." Once they were out of sight, I joined the thugs at the table and celebrated with a drink. Since marrying Joe, I had become a dutiful wife and mother, forgetting my own love for fun and nightlife. Now, I was reclaiming that part of myself. After a few drinks, my cousin teased me. "Our good little girl has returned to us. The one who loved partying and drinking. Welcome back." I laughed, clinking glasses with him. "Thank you for helping with the act. We'll split the money as agreed." "No need. You keep it all. Just join us for drinks more often." My cousin grinned, raising his glass. "Deal. But as agreed," I said, finishing my drink and heading out. I would reclaim what was rightfully mine. I wouldn't foolishly give everything away this time. Chapter 9. Smelling of alcohol, I returned home. Susan was already waiting at the door. "Lily, where are Joe and Jack? Why didn't they come back with you?" Joe chimed in. "Lily, did you refuse to pay? Jack is our only son. The entire family estate will be his. Yes, Jack might not be your biological son, but he calls you Mom. You can't just leave him to suffer." Susan added, both of them playing their parts well. I simply looked at them coldly. How could I not pay? It's just $80,000. I'd pay $800,000 for Jack. He calls me Mom after all. I love him dearly. You're right, Joe. You've always been the best to Jack. You've always been his best friend," Susan said. I smiled coldly. "You don't need to worry, Joe. Jack will be back soon. I even paid an extra $50,000 to bring Lucy home." Susan's eyes widened. "Lucy, a bar girl?" I turned serious. "What do you mean? Lucy is a girl Jack likes. How could you call her a bar girl? You're his biological mother. How could you be less understanding than me, his stepmother? Jack said he wouldn't come home without Lucy. Lily, why didn't you tell me on the phone? How could a bar girl be a match for Jack? You know he's engaged to the Zhao family." I pushed Joe away, yawning. "Jack doesn't like her. Call off the engagement." Joe's face turned pale. "You're being ridiculous. Canceling the engagement will cost us business with the Zhao family. I won't let my son marry a bar girl," Joe said, his face twisted in anger. "Jack is my son. I want what's best for him. If he likes Lucy, I'll support him. We don't need the Zhao family," I insisted. Joe's face turned white. "If the Zhao family finds out, they'll call off the engagement. Do you know how much we'll lose in business?" "I know, but Jack likes Lucy," I said firmly. "How can you let him ruin his future? We'll lose business relationships. Our family's reputation will be ruined," Joe argued. I pushed Joe away, heading to bed. "Jack is my son. I'll support him." Chapter 10. Joe and Susan were worried about Jack's relationship with Lucy. Susan spent days trying to persuade me to talk sense into Jack. "Lily, Jack listens to you. Talk to him." "Mom, my classmates mock me because of Jack. I don't want to go to school anymore," Jane cried. Jane's manipulation always worked. I wanted her to study for her future. Her grades were poor, and I donated a large sum to the school each year to keep her enrolled. Once, she wanted a $70,000 car. I refused, thinking it unnecessary for a student. Susan suggested she stop going to school. From then on, whenever things didn't go her way, she threatened to quit school. It always worked. Children often use such tactics, not realizing the consequences. As parents, we give in, not wanting them to suffer. The more we try to help, the more we become the villains. Chapter 11. I went to school, doing what I liked. "Mom, I want to be a star. You said I could do what I liked." "Yes, I support you. I love you the most." Susan looked at me dumbfounded. Jane was stunned, wondering if I meant it. "You always wanted to be a star. You even argued when I didn't let you join a talent show. Now you can do what you love." Jane beamed. "Really? I knew you loved me. Lily, are you crazy? You're ruining her future. She's in her final year. She needs to focus on her studies." Susan screamed. "Jane, she's your stepmother. She doesn't care about you. Listen to me, go back to school. Studying is the right path. You can be a star after university," Susan cried. Susan's sudden understanding was amusing. She used to say anyone could succeed without a degree. Now, she was desperate. I glared at Susan. "We should respect the children's wishes. You, their real mom, are less understanding than me. Jane will succeed." "Jane, it's my fault. I only want the best for you. I'll support whatever you do." Jane hugged me, crying. "Mom, I knew you loved me. I'll be a star, and you'll be the star's mom." Jane dropped out of school to pursue her dream. Susan cried on the sofa, and Joe had to drag her home. Chapter 12. A week later, Jack brought Lucy home again. "Mom, college is useless. Lucy said starting a business is the trend. I want to try." "Sure, I support you. Ask your dad for money." I later heard Jack took the money and partied for days before gambling it away. Losing a lot, he accused others of cheating, smashed tables, and got into a fight. Now, the thugs were at the door, demanding money. If we didn't pay, they'd take matters into their own hands. How much? Susan was frantic, clutching Joe's arm. $150,000. Susan collapsed on the sofa. Jack's mess had to be cleaned up. If the police got involved, it would ruin our family's reputation and business. Lily, you... Joe and Susan looked at me, pleading. Save him? Of course, I will. Jack is my son. Joe brought Jack home. Mom, did I disappoint you? Will this affect our business? I held Jack's hand, tears in my eyes. Jack, are you hurt? You've lost weight. Mom loves you. Don't worry about the business. Your dad will handle it. Mom, I saved a girl at the bar. She's like Lucy. I brought her home. Jack scratched his head, smiling. It's fine, Jack. You're not married yet. You can have as many friends as you want. Jack was thrilled. Mom, you're the best. Susan said you'd be mad. See, you're wrong. Mom loves me. Jack beamed, taking Lucy inside, leaving Susan fuming. Jack, you can't do this. Marrying into the Zhao family is important for your future. How can you throw it away for two bar girls? Susan's anger exploded. She didn't mind Jack's playboy ways. The Zhao family's wealth and influence suited her. She wanted a daughter-in-law who wouldn't overshadow her. Jack's behavior had ruined the engagement, causing a financial crisis. Lily, what have you done? I rolled my eyes. Cancel the engagement. I want Jack to be happy. Susan panicked. You can't. Jack's future depends on it. Joe's business suffered, and he was overwhelmed. Each family member pursued their own interests, causing chaos. Chapter 13. Joe's children were a mess, and the business was failing. Susan clung to Jack, begging him to apologize to the Zhao family. Jack, you can't ruin our family for two bar girls. Jack was annoyed. Susan, you're not my real mom. Mom loves me. I'll do what I want. Mom knew what was best for me. Jane, you knew I wanted to be a star. Susan, you supported me. Jane added. Susan was furious, knowing her manipulation had backfired. Fine, it's my fault. Joe's family was falling apart. Jane's dream of stardom was a disaster. Jack's gambling and partying were out of control. Joe's business went bankrupt. On the day of the bankruptcy, I felt a sense of relief. The bankruptcy came earlier than in my previous life, probably due to the Zhao family's withdrawal. I packed my things, watching as the police confiscated our valuables. We were evicted, and the house was sealed. The sunset cast long shadows. Jack and Jane looked dazed, muttering, "How could we go bankrupt? Mom, Dad, you're lying, right?" Joe, carrying his belongings, led us to a small house. Everyone looked miserable, except for me. I couldn't hide my joy. Mom, we're living here. It's smaller than our bathroom. How can we all fit? Jane's tears flowed. Jane, don't cry. We have no money. If you can't manage, go to your real mom. Yes, we'll go to her. She won't let us suffer. Jack and Jane ran to find Susan. They needed to experience their real mother's rejection. In my previous life, I gave everything for them, only to be abandoned. They needed to see the truth. Susan had disappeared when she heard about the bankruptcy. Jack and Jane returned, dejected. What happened? Didn't Susan take you in? This place is too small. I'm worried about you. They clung to me, crying. Mom, we knew you loved us. We'll repay you. We won't let you suffer. After a day of chaos, we hadn't eaten. Jack volunteered to borrow money from his bar friends. With money, they were eager. Without, no one cared. Money borrowed. Jack's eyes were red. Mom, give me time. I'll get the money. I believe in you, Jack. Jane, desperate, cried. "Mom, I want to study. Get me back to school." "Jane, I'm sorry. We're bankrupt. I can't donate to the school. You've already dropped out." I held Jane's hand. "Mom, you can't ruin her future. She needs to study." Susan screamed, bursting in. "Jane, you knew what was best. You supported me." Jack retorted. Susan was furious. "You're ruining your future. You're destroying everything." Jack glared at Susan. "You supported me. Mom loves me. Jane, you supported me. Susan, you're wrong. Fine, it's my fault." Susan cried. The family was in chaos. I decided to leave, saying the house was too small. "Mom, don't leave. We need you. I don't want to burden you. I'll stay with my family." I packed my things and left. Chapter 14. Living alone, I enjoyed life. During the day, I drank tea and shopped. At night, I visited bars and met new people. No longer burdened by their problems, my days were blissful. Jack and Jane visited once. "Mom, are you okay?" I saw their worn faces. "Go back. I'm divorced from your dad. You can be a family without me." They couldn't see me thriving. They needed to realize their mistakes. In this new life, I lived for myself. I deserved happiness. They got what they deserved. Though I helped, it was their actions that led to their downfall. This time, I lived for myself. The world was too beautiful to miss. They faced their retribution. I had pushed them, but it was their own choices that brought them down.